Are you a family lawyer or a lawyer that serves clients looking for a way to grow your firm by opening up multiple locations? This video is all about that. And my guest today is Tony Karls. Tony is my co-founder and partner of Sterling Lawyers. We are a family law firm based in Wisconsin, Illinois, doing over 15 million in revenue with 25 plus attorneys. And a big driver for our success has been opening up multiple locations. So Tony, welcome back to the show. And as you know, we get a lot of questions on how we've grown our firm from one location to, as of the recording of this, 26 plus locations. And it hasn't come without a considerable pain and really expensive lessons that we have learned along the way. So I wanted to kind of dig into one of those. I think it'd be really helpful to our audience as they're looking at growing their firm. And in particular, to set the context for everyone here. So Tony and I started Sterling Lawyers almost 11 years ago in June. So 10 years ago and some change here, right? And we did that with the idea we were going to grow and expand it. And so we started with one office in a suburb of Milwaukee. And today we have a primary location in Milwaukee, a primary location in Madison, Wisconsin, another one in a northern town called Appleton, Wisconsin. And then we have one down in Illinois in the Chicagoland area in Arlington Heights. So that's our four kind of like working staff locations. But we also have 22 or 23 plus satellite offices that are used for meeting with clients. And those offices have really helped fuel our growth to where we are today, sitting at 26 lawyers and 15 plus million in revenue as we look back over these past 10 years. So that's the context we're in. And you and I talked in the green room prior to this about like one of the most egregious, painful experiences. And that was in a community here in Wisconsin, south of Milwaukee called Oak Creek. So Oak Creek, tell us how big Oak Creek is and kind of the whole sordid affair of how we selected Oak Creek and went into it and made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the particular demographics and all that of Oak Creek recently.
It's probably about 60,000.
Yeah, I was going to say between 60 and 70,000. I thought maybe like 60, 65. So it's, from an income perspective, it would be ideal. It's not overly affluent, but it's definitely not. It doesn't have a large indigent population. A lot of families. Pretty standard, larger size suburb.
Yeah.
And if you put a location there, you're going to get decent reach around the area. So it would really pass our territory analysis. But we opened it and it failed. So the question is why and what happened.
So was this one of the second or third locations that we?
I think this was our second location.
Okay. Yep, it's coming back to me now. This goes back to year one or year two of our existence, right? Yeah.
Looking backwards, I think one of the mistakes we made is I don't know if we asked the right questions. We just wanted to grow.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Guilty. Yep.
So, I would say like one of the questions that we should really ask is if we're going to be multi-location, what does that mean we need to be as an organization? And what do we not have that we need to have if we're going to do this? Because what we ended up doing was all of us with 5 or 10% of our time became experts at opening locations, which didn't work. It ended up costing us a whole bunch of money. And we ended up obsessing over things that didn't matter, the things that wouldn't have even panned out in real life anyway.
Yeah.
One of them is we really wanted to outfit the offices in a very specific way.
So let me own this particular issue because this was my brainchild. So we have our main location in Menomonee Falls, Wisconsin, western suburb of Milwaukee. Oak Creek's a southern suburb of Milwaukee. And I thought it'd be a great idea, because I read this in a book somewhere, I'm sure, about making the office look uniform to every other office. So this was going to be our prototype. And we paid, I don't know, 50 grand to build the walls in this brand new location. That's just the walls and the flooring. And then we spent another $50,000 or $60,000 just in the furniture of it. And I selected a vendor that could give us furniture for every future location, have them all look exactly the same, kind of like walking into a Chick-fil-A franchise, right? Where they all have the same look and feel and everything. That's what I thought we needed for a law firm. Now, looking back on that, it makes no sense to do that. I don't know where my brain was. It certainly wasn't in the right place, because if someone's going to go in and see a divorce lawyer in Oak Creek, they're not going to go to Appleton, Wisconsin, and see another divorce lawyer and get a second divorce, right? And then feel comfortable because it has the same, you know, couch and chairs when you walk in the reception area. So we poured a ton of money into just the aesthetics of the office, right?
Yeah, I think that was like when I say that we asked like what do we need to become, like to me that's process and systems and like how do we think about the P&L and how do we like structure the business differently? Do we have all these? Are we measuring things the right way? Are we like doing all of that? Instead, we like we run on traction, and I know we had an L10, which is our weekly meeting, one week, and there was a long conversation on what the artwork in the front entrance was going to look like. Like knowing what we know now, this would have just been a satellite location that would have gotten infrequent usage and it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It's really the
So instead, we got a reception area, 3 or 4 offices, a couple conference rooms, and a kitchenette area,
yeah.
and an open area for people to sit in. That's what we thought was great to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And now as we define a satellite, it's it's an entrance area and like two offices. Typically, one will have a conference table, the other one will have like a desk. And it'll be set
Mhm.
up like a computer monitor where someone can plug their stuff right in, their laptop. It's very different, and the cost obviously is very different. So setup is different. Even the setups of our hubs now, when you compare like opening costs to what that opening cost
Mhm.
was, I think our most expensive one was Naperville now. I think that one was the most expensive one we've done since Oak Creek, and I think that one might have cost us $30,000.
Yeah, and in Naperville, in all fairness, that's a actual designed to be a hub location for people, staff, and sit in. So talk through all the best practices you've learned in opening up an office, because you've done 25 of them or so at this point, and so you've got a lot of data that has what's worked and what hasn't worked. So, what's the perfect opening satellite location office look like from a footprint, square footage standpoint, doors, locks on the doors? What, all that sort of stuff for someone to be able to copy this when they open up for their firm.
I think where it first starts now is thinking about what's the hub and spoke look like in that area. Like
Hmm.
that's probably where I start because that's going to then tell you where your main staff is going to be located so you guys can work as a team. And then where are your potential meeting areas that I think we did a different video that talked about how to pick locations, like where should these other locations be that'll support
Hmm.
that whole region. And your hubs are going to look very different than your satellites. Your
Yeah.
satellites really be, the ideal size is like 600 square feet. You got an entrance, a small entranceway for people to sit down. You got and like two offices that are decent size. You can put a conference room in with like six chairs, an office with a you know nice desk, and that's basically what the office would look like.
So you
And
have an office, a room with a desk in, and a room with a conference table in it.
yeah, and then a room with like your open entrance room with a couple chairs. Like you don't have a reception desk, and you don't have like
Yeah.
all.
And nothing bigger. We just found that it just doesn't work. Just
It gets infrequent use.
wastes money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very rare where two team members are going to need it at the exact same time. Like
Hmm.
I don't even know if that happened since
Yeah.
we implemented this.
Yeah.
So,
Why not just put two rooms with tables,
yeah,
conference rooms? Why not
uh,
do that?
what's up?
Why not do that? Why not just put in a room with a conference table and another room with a conference table? Why do one with a desk and one with a conference table?
Just so that you can have, if you have a one-on-one, sometimes it's more comfortable to do it behind the desk. There's
Mhm.
just preference for the uh, the attorneys because we usually outfitted the a one with the desk with a couple monitors and a docking station, and then
Mhm.
the conference room with the TV. So just
Mhm.
two different working
I
opportunities.
see. Okay. Because we also see that our lawyers will sometimes use these if they're going to be going to court nearby, or they just want to work from there instead of their home that day, or whatever the case is.
Yeah. I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, we implemented a remote lock system. The benefit was understanding traffic. We now have really good understanding of traffic now to our offices.
So go back up a little on the lock system you're talking about. Describe what it does, and then kind of walk through
Yeah.
the benefits. What did we discover from it?
It's really cool technology, because basically it's just a door lock that connects to Wi-Fi. So there's no wiring required. So you just replace the door lock. It's got a keypad on it. Every team member gets their own PIN, and then every hour, all the pins from your database get stored in this little key lock. It's battery operated. You'll get a notice when you need to change battery. It's pretty cool technology. So it's easy to install. Benefits are you then get tracking on usage of the door, when people went in, when they left, all of that stuff. And the biggest benefit, the reason we did it, is we kept running into key issues. So we'd have a couple keys for an office. We'd be trying to swap them around with all the attorneys, and it was just a mess. It was just a hot mess.
Yeah.
And then everybody's got a key copy. Doesn't always work. So then you're standing there with the key, and you look like a goofball standing in front of the client trying to open a door that's supposed to be your office.
Yeah.
Not a great look. So, no. We implemented those. What we found from a traffic perspective is these didn't get used very often.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped us, when we originally started the satellites, we had them cleaned and we had them stocked with water and different things. And we noticed, like, okay, this usage is once every 3 months. We probably don't need someone coming to clean every other week. So it really helped us from a data perspective. So there was a lot of benefits to that overall.
Well, hello, Jeff here. My team and I put out a weekly newsletter designed for family law practitioners to help you grow and build your practice. So if you go to my website at jsterlinghughes.com, that's Hughes, that's jsterlinghughes.com, and subscribe, it would mean the world to me. And what I will do for you there is I will send you weekly content to help you build and grow your practice, as well as news and developments in the greater world of family law. Thank you, and back to the show. Do you put any emphasis at all on artwork and kind of the aesthetics of the office?
I mean, we put some in, but we don't. You go to like Home Goods and buy something that looks
Yeah.
decent. You're not like trying to doll it up and hire an interior designer and all that stuff. It's not, because of the utility, it's not super useful. You got a main hub, something to consider, because your team is going to use it a lot. And you're going to have a lot of guests. So you got to take it a little more serious, because the feel of your environment will typically impact the production of your team.
Yep.
So
for these locations, we just want it to look just enough where it's not even noticeable. It's not memorable. Just past the bare bones, so it's comfortable and clean.
Yeah, comfortable, clean, and useful. That's what we're looking for. It's a very like functional thought process.
Back on this lock system, I forgot to ask you, what is the approximate cost per location? Do you recall?
I think it's $7 a door per month.
Per month.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the install, or the actual lock itself that we can install, is pretty easy, is a couple $100.
It's like $250 or $300.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, so it might have gone up. But
and so in the conference room, we'll put a TV and hang that on the wall so it can be used to demonstrate paperwork or whatever.
Yep.
And so when the attorney comes in, they can just cast into that TV, and that's how they can explain things to their clients and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So the benefit of all of this, obviously, is it gives us a map listing in all those locations, which is a significant portion of our traffic. And it makes it convenient for clients, right?
Yep.
And certainly for our lawyers. And then from a standpoint of actually picking the locations, we have learned that we're going to do better renting or leasing the location ourselves as the tenant, rather than going through one of these shared office locations like Regis.
Yeah. You just run into more limitations there and different rules that kind of bungle up the process.
Yeah. Different rules with Google, maybe not liking the Regis
Yeah,
location.
Google or the office manager.
Okay.
We had one real particular office manager down in Chicago who was, um, if you and me and Steve Bunday had a podcast, we could probably tell some funny stories on that.
Oh, I remember her. Yeah.
It was not pleasant. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Well, any other best practices on opening up multi-locations that we haven't talked about?
No, I think just very looking forward, looking ahead at what you're going to be doing. Because if you can identify your hub and spoke potential model before you really start investing in locations,
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a benefit. Like you might find where you started your first location, that might actually be a satellite office.
Mm-hmm.
At first, that was just you and a couple team members. And then when you do this type of research and you look at, okay, my hub should actually be here. This is one of the spokes. Be more informative than just I'm going to build my hub here and I don't necessarily care where my spokes are. You're going to have a inefficient model because you're going to end up having in some frequency drive to these places. So that's going to be at a higher frequency than potentially going to court to and from these places. So
yeah. Well, cool. Thank you, Tony. Thank you for coming on the show here. And how would someone get a hold of you if they have questions about anything we've talked about here?
So I'm president of RocketClicks. You can go to rocketclicks.com and reach out to someone on our team, fill out the form, or give them a call. Tyler, Liam, or Matt would love to talk to you.
Well, thank you again. And if you found any value in this video, then you're really going to want to go over here and watch this video that Tony and I did on selecting where to put your next office from a territorial analysis standpoint. So I'll see you over there.